My name is Catherine Falade. I'm speaking from Nigeria. I'll be talking to you about IRB, what it is, how it is constituted, etc., etc. An IRB is an administrative body established to protect the rights and welfare of human research subjects enrolled to participate in research activities under the auspices of the institution which it is affiliated. I'm in Ibadan, and we have an IRB that covers some institutions outside its geographical locations for its various reasons. Because it could be because the international agency funding research wants a recognized IRB, etc. Research ethics is critical. It is the cornerstone for evaluation of health intervention of human beings. And members of IRBs have key responsibilities of ensuring safety and protection of participants, both in clinical trials and other trials involving humans. Members are competent and skilled to review such protocols. You'll ask me, what is research? It's a systematic investigation designed to test, evaluate, develop, or contribute to generalizable knowledge. And so it is not just any research, any study that can be considered research. It must attempt to answer some research questions. It must be methodologically driven, and the conclusions must be drawn from the results. The information gained must contribute to a theoretical framework, etc., etc. You know, this slide just goes to show us the various facets of where the principles of ethics in research are important, be it business, justice, behavioral, women studies, professional practice, decision-making, motivational codes, etc. There are some activities during which data are collected that are not deemed as research. Oral history, journalism, biography, public health surveillance activities, collection, analysis of information about specimens or records for criminal justice, authorized operational activities. And so these are not considered research and not subject to research ethics. What are the duties of an IRB? It's important because they review research protocols involving human participants before the study is initiated. And I repeat, because we get requests for ethical approval after studies have been carried out. No, this is not allowed. Protocols must be consistent with sound research design. All researches involving humans, whether funded or not, are subject to IRB approval. The primary concern is the welfare, rights, and privacy of human subjects, with the result that risks to subjects are minimized. IRB will approve, disapprove, monitor, and require modification of all research activities that falls within its jurisdiction. The IRB can actually terminate studies if PI and study team are not compliant. The IRB is also responsible for continuing training of members of the IRB. The National Health Research Ethics Body in Nigeria insists on in-person training every 2 years. Online, if in-person training is not possible, like we had during the COVID pandemic. How do you constitute an IRB? How is it constituted? Who is required to have an IRB? Usually institutions like universities, secondary hospitals, or tertiary hospitals, where research involving human research is being conducted or will be conducted. The IRB is set up by the institutional authority following international guidelines. They appoint a group of individuals who have training in scientific areas, non-scientific areas, and even members of the community who may represent people who will participate in the research. I'll take you briefly through the history and duties of the UIUCH IRB. That is the institution where I am, and I was the chair of the IRB for 6 years up to August 1st, 2021. The UIUCH IRB was established in 1980 by a committee of the Academic Board of the College of Medicine. That is a very high administrative committee. It serves as the gatekeeper for research that involves human subjects in UI and UCH. The UCH is University College Hospital. It ensures that scientific research are ethically sound and compliant with global best practice, as stated in the Charters of Federal-Wide Assurance, Office of Human Research Protection, and the Nigerian Health Research Ethics Committee. These are three regulatory bodies under which the UIUCH maintains its constant registration. The IRB also mentors, UIUCH IRB also mentors upcoming ethics committee in other institutions of higher learning and tertiary healthcare in Nigeria. The picture on the screen shows a copy of the guidelines of ethical review that we use at the UIUCH IRB. How are members selected? The quality of the individuals who are selected into membership of the IRB is critical. They must be honest, polite, and courteous, knowledgeable in their practice equity. They have to be competent, responsible, have integrity, and respect. These are absolutely essential qualities. The composition of the IRB in the WHO Charter says a minimum of 5 members. Even at 5 members, it must be a multidisciplinary team to promote complete and adequate review of research commonly conducted by the organization. The composition of the IRB must be gender sensitive, that is, must consist of male and female members, not just one gender, and almost at equal proportion. There must be at least one scientist, even when we talk about 5. There must be at least one non-scientist, even when we talk about 5. There must be at least one member who is not affiliated with the organization and is not part of the immediate family of a person who is affiliated with the organization. There must also be at least one member representing the perspective of research participants. In red, I have put it, individuals who are responsible for business development are prohibited from serving as members or ex-officio members on the IRB. And that is because they will have conflict of interest. Who are those that can be members of the IRB? Physicians, nurses, pharmacists, social scientists, and at least one non-affiliated and non-scientist member. The selection process is conducted in consultation with institutional officials, deans, department chairs, and other IRB members, and finalized at the College of Medicine academic board meetings. We've already spoken about the 5 minimum, but I'll tell you, the WHO has an IRB member of 27, but in the UIUCH IRB, we have 23. Odd number is advised because it is expected that IRB members will vote so that you do not have ties. However, I want to tell us upfront now that the UIUCH IRB, we don't vote. It is either everybody accepts it or not. The director of the Institute for Advanced Medical Research and Training is the default chair of the UIUCH IRB and can co-opt members. The chairman, Medical Advisory Committee of University College Hospital is the default vice chair of the UIUCH IRB. Once IRB members are appointed, they receive a letter of appointment once it is confirmed, and the letter states the terms of service. IRB members serve 2 years renewable terms. I must say there are no term limits. IRB members may resign at any time by submitting a letter of resignation to the IRB chair. Now, let me give you the nitty-gritty of the composition of the UIUCH IRB. The chair of IRB is the director of IMRAT. The chairman, Medical Advisory Committee is co-chair or vice chair. We have 2 persons representing each faculty in the college: Faculty of Basic Medical Sciences, Clinical Medical Sciences, Public Health, and Dentistry. We also have 2 members from 3 other faculties on the main university campus: Faculty of Law, Faculty of the Social Sciences, and Faculty of Pharmacy. Mandatorily, there has to be a biostatistician, a legal practitioner, and a religious officer. It could be a Christian religious officer, it could be a Muslim religious officer. There are 2 lay persons representing members of the public. We have 2 lay persons because they are an essential member to form a quorum, at least one. So in order to ensure that we never run short, we have 2 lay persons as members. The UIUCH IRC is gender sensitive. Now, the running of the UIUCH IRC is slightly more advanced. That's the way I'll put it, rather than different. We receive close to 900 proposals a year, and that is impossible for IRB members to deal with. So we have numerous consultants who are reviewers. We have the unique opportunity to be located in the twin institutions of University College of Hospital and the College of Medicine, the University of Ibadan. So we have a rich supply of experts from various fields, and that is something we use to the maximum. Unlike most IRBs in Nigeria, we have dedicated administrative staff, but I have to tell you, we have to generate how to pay them. We have no regrets because they do a marvelous job. What are the roles of the IRB members? We meet once a month, usually the 3rd Wednesday of every month, the 3rd Thursday of every month, and they have to go through the proposals to ensure the design is sound, the hypothesis is reasonable, the risks are minimized, the research protocol includes a plan for data and safety monitoring, etc., etc. Protocols must be consistent with good research design. All researchers, whether funded or not. When we approve proposals, there are different types of proposals. We have exempt approval. These are retrospective studies. That is research activities that only involve the extraction of existing data, documentation of records from existing sources. However, these proposals must still be put up and sent to the ethics committee for it to be reviewed. Members of the academic community and hospital community cannot just assume that they will get an exempt approval. We have expedited approval. These are researches that involve no more than minimal risk. The probability and magnitude of harm is no greater than that encountered in the general population. These are basically questionnaire-based studies. And then we have the full approval. These are research activities that involve more than minimal risk. The probability and magnitude of harm may be greater than that encountered in the general population. These are general studies that require invasive procedures such as clinical trials, drug evaluations, etc. There are various roles for different members of the IRB. The chair, for example, is also a member of the IRB, is responsible for providing leadership and guidance to the IRB, conducting and convening IRB meetings. The chair is also responsible for reviewing minor deviations and or other events that qualify for review by expedited procedures and for assisting with investigations and audits of investigations. The chair reviews and signs correspondence related to IRB determinations, ensure that IRB members with a conflict of interest are not present for discussion and do not vote on the research where he or she has a conflict. The chair is also responsible for conducting review of IRB minutes, selecting new IRB members, and assisting with annual evaluation of IRB. While the vice chair, on the other hand, is also an IRB member, he or she supports the IRB chair and sits in for the chair when the chair is not available. We have alternate IRB members and consultants. Alternate members are appointed to serve as a substitute for regular members. Consultants are usually required for appropriate expertise to review a research study. We use a lot of consultants in the UI/UCH IRB. 80% of our protocols go to consultants and they document their comments, and when they want to, the PIs will respond, and sometimes they go back to them. The larger body of the IRB at the committee reviews the comments, reviews the responses, and evaluate the decisions to be taken. The use of consultants are documented in minutes of meetings. This slide tells us the responsibilities of IRB members: regular attendance at meetings, etc., etc. I want to spend time talking on the submission process. We have standard operating procedure for submitting proposals. Phase 1 is inquiry. The guidelines and other requirements for submission are requested by the proposed investigator. And the PI, the proposed PI, must provide evidence of research ethics training. We have access to cityprogram.org. It is important because a lot of people coming into research have no idea of ethics in research, and they think they may not really understand the force we are making. The principal investigator curriculum vitae on NIH biographical sketch format is also important. It helps the IRB to evaluate if the proposed PI has the training and experience to be principal investigator of the proposed study. There has to be an application letter to the chairperson of the committee requesting for approval, and we have a standard application form, and there must be evidence of payment. People applying for approval from my IRB have to pay, but it's not uniform. Students pay minimally, self-sponsored faculty go next, nationally sponsored studies next, and internationally sponsored studies pay the most. This is the way we keep the IRB going. We have a designated office that's dedicated to the IRB. We have printers, photocopies, laptops, internet, all that is required to get the IRB running. The second phase is the submission of the proposal. The proposal will be accepted provided the PI has adequately complied with the guidelines. If not, no. Then the proposals, once accepted, will be sent out to reviewers. The expected duration of review is within 2 weeks, but a lot of the times we go up to 4 weeks because the reviewers have other responsibility. Phase 3, comments coming from the reviewers, and this goes back to the PIs. for response. Then the PIs submit their responses, and at the next IRB meeting, members look at the whole document and dossier and take a decision to approve, disapprove, or raise other issues. The documents required are the research protocols, which must also contain informed consent, associated study instruments, data collection forms, case report forms, patient diary, and patient recruitment materials. These are critical. Submission for proposal for continuing review. IRB approval is usually for a period of 1 year. There are studies that go on for 3 years, 5 years, even 10 years. There must be request for renewal annually. There is a standard continuing review form to be completed by the PI, a progress report of the project since the last recruitment period must be given, highlighting activities and any deviation from approved activities, including any change to the proposal or to the informed consent documents. Reports from the DSMB, if it was established for monitoring of the study, must also be included. Copies of any amended or modified documents or new documents must be included. Why requesting for an amended or approval of amendment of an approved protocol, we request for a memo which asking us for the requesting for amendments and explaining why an amendment is required, a copy of the protocol with the date or the version where significant changes have been made in the study design. The amendment should be accompanied by proof that the amendment has been approved by other peer review groups, and the applicant has to provide the protocol ID for the proposal. At the end of a study or research, there has to be project closure. Upon completion, closure must be provided. A final report of the project, there's a project closure form, progress report since last approval, the monitor's report, all must be submitted to the IRB. Once a project form has been completed, no more data may be collected from any of the subjects in the study. Even if new enrollments of subjects are ended, projects must remain open if the follow-up of subjects will continue. Now, you can all understand why you need ethical approval. It ensures that generally accepted ethical standards are followed. Going through the process helps you to refine your ideas on the why, how, when, where, and who, so you do not waste study participants and your own time conducting research that provides no meaningful or useful information. The process protects study participants and researchers. Ethical approvals are now mandatory requirement by many universities and other institutions for both academic and professional degrees and qualifications involving humans. Funders require the information of ethics committee approval before releasing funds, and many journals require statements and details of ethics approval before publication of research findings. Occasionally, electronic copy of the ethical approval are requested. And sometimes journal editors communicate directly with the chair of the EC. I had quite a number of communications by email asking whether the ethics approval provided cover a particular aspect of the study. And so you cannot go wrong. You need to do ethical approval. It protects you. It protects the ethics committee. It protects your study participant. These are some selected references. I thank you for listening.